online, and good day. And I like to read with you about Mr. Zheng Yan's footprint. And I really love the 6 Chinese characters, which are vegetarianism, and a veggie heart, and a veggie concept. And here I show you the pictures, which is a beautiful city, okay, Kaohsiung. And we really have a kind of a beautiful places and a lot of concert halls right here. And it belonged to like a Kaohsiung Harbor, so it was really prosperous there. And this was a very, very popular business zone there. And we had a lot of indented houses, and we could buy a lot of like imported goods. However, the business just went like slow and declined. And in 1981, and they gained like safety. I mean, they gained a usage license there. And what I'm talking about is a building, okay, and it gained the usage license in which we had like cinemas and we had hotels. And as we know that this building was just burned out last year, and it was named Chen Zhongcheng Fire, which took a lot of people's lives. And the fire happened in like a midnight around 2. And when it happened, and a lot of Tzu volunteers just send a lot of like goods, like mineral waters and food to the people in there who need them. And we have a lot of like a volunteer also doing the ceremony, blessing ceremony there. And let's take a look at the film here. And Tzu volunteers send up the hot coffee to the firefighters who help out the Chen Zhongcheng disaster. And he was the first volunteer arriving there at the disaster area. I just heard the bomb, okay? And I realized it was on fire. Then I just rushed to the building. And he went there without fear. And after him, a lot of more volunteers just came up continuously. And I just went to the like convenience stores and bought a lot of mineral waters for like firefighters to quench their thirst, right? And some people were in fear and they just rushed out without bringing anything. And Tzu volunteer therefore came over to the fire, like building there, and we gave out the comfort. And I saw it, and I felt comforted. And they are the living bodhisattvas. And thank you, all the volunteers. And where there are disasters, and there are Tzu volunteers. And Chen Zhongcheng, the building was damaged. And now the land over there is going to be the park in the future. And because of this disaster, our government now is planning to do more like plans for the future. And as you know, that people who live here are usually underprivileged, and they are like poor people, for example. So a lot of people also care very much about the public security and the safety inspections in that area. And this fire happened because of a quarrel between a couple, and because of the ignorance, and it caused a big disaster that took like 46 people dead and 43 people injured. And I want to say that if we have a positive mind, and this is very important, let's not go deviant in mind. I think this is a concept that I just mentioned, and we think positively, and we can mitigate disasters. And now, I think we are all wearing masks, right, because of COVID-19. And such an influence has been going on for over 3 years, right? And I'm very grateful to Taipei Tzu Hospital. And they mentioned that through scientific studies, and 73 of the elderly people who adopt vegetarianism can avoid severe disasters. And this study was done through Hou Yizhen, and she is a nutritionist, and she also awarded the Medical Education Research Award. And we say she is a great healer, of course, right? Vegetarianism is super important. And vegetarian shows the great love and the complete love. And it's been almost 3 years that since COVID-19 just began breaking out. And Master Zheng Yan always wants us to take a vegetarianism, and let's take a film. And this is why we are advocating vegetarianism. And only by eating a vegetarian diet can we have a clear air. In all, people need to be vegetarian. In eating a meat diet, look at how many animal lives are taken because of the humans' cravings for meat. A lot of livestock are raised. And every day, we need to feed up to 8 billion people. And how much food is eaten by a person every day? Recently, I have been talking about this every day. I know that when I give a talk, and Tzu volunteers around the world would just listen to my talk online. I always advocate vegetarianism. Do people know how many animals are killed for food in a second? The UN has provided statistics, and the number of animals killed are just shocking. Don't just hear the number and just forget it. We have to remember the number and think carefully about it. 2,556 animals being killed every day, which means that more than 200 million animals are killed. It's shocking, right? And how many animals need to be raised so that we can satisfy people's cravings, right? And Mr. Zheng Yan says that we have to remember the numbers, don't forget it. And actually, the number of 2,556 animals being killed, actually now it is more than that, a lot more than that. And some people say COVID-19 is going to an end. However, Mr. Zheng Yan says recently that we still have climate changes, right? And the climate clock in New York says that we human beings have only the last 6 years. And can you imagine what the 6 years mean to them? After 6 years, then we have to face big disasters. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 years left. How do we know it is 6 years? And it is calculated through the carbon emission. And let me tell you, taking vegetarianism is the number one thing to cure the world. We have only 6 years left. We don't say 60 years. And let's take a look at the youth and tongue in Cambodia. In Myanmar, I'm sorry. And he insisted not killing insects when he was planting his field. And he always says good things to the so-called pests. Therefore, he has a wonderful harvest, not killing any lives. And let's say, what is Dharma? Okay, in the picture, we have all the volunteers performing the sutra adoption, right? And why are they so neat? Why do they look so neat? Because we have already set up the line for them. And either is just like the ink fountain, and we set up the criterion for them. And the criterion means the rules. And if we don't follow up the criterion, then can we just act so neatly? No. and the criterion means the Dharma. So we put the Dharma in mind, but we have to act it out. Otherwise, the Dharma is just like the teachings. Teachings means nothing. And Mr. Zheng Yan just mentioned that this is so hard, urgently and carefully, but do we really put them in mind? And we are doing a sutra performance in the end of this year. So I think we really have to take vegetarianism. Thank you very much. And this is really important for us to take vegetarianism. And now let me share with you the grand lesson. And I think eating takes the very big part. And the vegetarianism is the only way for us. So we not only have to take vegetarians ourselves, we also have to promote it to people. And thank you, Ruyu. You did a wonderful job, right? And speaking of vegetarianism, and I have something to share with you. Can you imagine that the children in Da'ai kindergarten also uses like a 进食 product and make like snacks for mass